YouTube? Camodo Gaming here, bringing you guys another episode of Scrap Mechanic. Today we have a bit of a different episode. As you saw from the intro, I have built a huge missile launcher. This thing is really cool. It's probably one of my favorite vehicles to date. So we're going to go over this here today. But first off, I do want to apologize about the past couple of days. I haven't been around much. My power went out because we had some really bad storms, and it took them a long time to get it hooked back up. And I was really concerned for this weekend. Obviously, I don't have this is a big build, but I don't have like one of my normal huge builds. It's just because I didn't have as much time this weekend. So I do want to thank you guys for all the love and support on that. And remember folks, if you're enjoying Scrap Mechanic, leave this video a thumbs up, helps out my channel, and let's jump right into this. Alright, so this massive thing seats 4 people. The driver sits in the front right. He also has access to the missile, or at least on my version. I don't know about real life, but I made it to where he's got all the controls, so you can just sit here and do everything with the missile from the cockpit. So you've got that. 16 wheels. 16 wheels also means 16 suspension. It is creating a little bit of lag. So I'm going to have 2 versions of this. We're going to have the unloaded version, which this one's the unloaded, and then we'll have the loaded. The loaded will be ready with the missile. The only thing you have to do is delete a block. The only bad thing is it does lag once that missile's loose inside the silo. It bounces around a bit, and it does create quite a bit of lag. So what's going to happen here? This is all going to work off the wireless glitch. As soon as you delete the block, and we'll pull out that version of it here in a second, it will stay connected to the cockpit so you can launch it from there. So, like I was saying, 16 wheels. The front 4 are the turning wheels. Now, at first I did have the double bearings on it to help it turn a little bit more, but for whatever reason the double bearings caused way too much lag, so I wasn't able to do that. It still does turn relatively well. It is powered off of 4 gas engines. They're all located here in the front, as you can see. But yeah, I'm very, very surprised how well this thing gets over terrain. Now, it can high center and it can get stuck. Obviously, it's a really long craft, but for what it is, it does drive actually really well. So we're going to test out the driving first, and then I'll go over the launching mechanism, because it's actually really kind of neat how this whole silo works and how it stabilizes itself. So we're going to go ahead, jump right in, go and give you guys one more little view of the outside here, and just how massive and awesome this thing looks. Alright, let's go ahead and pop into the cockpit here. Now, the only control you need to worry about for driving, obviously, you just got your door. Just hit 1, close the door, and you're good to go. As far as the first-person view, yeah, you can't see much out of it. I'm pretty sure there's some radio communications that go back and forth to kind of get this thing to work, because, I mean, you've got the huge silo to your left side. You can't see it all, so anyways, let's go ahead and take off here. Now, you notice the back wheels are spinning a little bit more than the front wheels do. I've got the power level set a little differently. It just seemed like the back wheels needed a bit of assistance, a little bit more power to get going. You do see some lag, and that's just something I cannot prevent with this amount of suspension. Like, this is probably the most suspension that I put on a vehicle so far, and it definitely needs it, but I'll go and show you the turning down here. Yeah, it's just something I couldn't avoid, so I do apologize that the video is a bit shaky here, but we're going to make the best of it. Alright, so I just want to demonstrate real quick just how this thing handles. Now, the one thing you have to watch out for, you cannot make this thing dive off of cliffs or anything, because the front end does hang out quite a bit, and if it dips down, that front end, it's pretty possible that it's going to get stuck, because it's going to hit it first, and it's going to kind of lift the wheels off the ground. So that's the one thing you do have to watch out for while you're driving this thing around. Other than that, handles pretty good. You do see the front 4 wheels, the turning wheels, they do occasionally like slide sideways. We've come up with fixes for that, but most of those fixes actually involve more bearings, and this thing's already got enough bearings, so I decided to go ahead and deal with it. It actually doesn't really hinder the driving that much. And oh, a rock wheel. Obviously that rock's a little too tall to hop over. Let's go ahead and turn here. Now, as far as its turning capabilities, it does turn actually relatively well. It is a very long craft, so I mean, it's not going to turn on a dime. The double bearing suspension did help quite a bit, but the lag was just unbearable. Plus, it did look a bit odd. The double bearing suspension, when you have that, or the double bearing turning, when you have that going, it turns the wheels almost completely sideways. when it's turning, and it looked really odd because the wheels are really exposed here. So you just see them turn completely dead sideways, and yeah, it was just rather odd. But anyways, just kind of showing you guys how this thing drives around. We're ready to go actually launch one. So I need to spawn the version with the missile ready to go in it, and show you guys what you need to do if you want to play around with this thing in order to actually launch the missile. So let's go ahead and pull that thing out. We'll probably shoot it around over here somewheres. Okay, so now we have the loaded version. Now this thing's gonna lag a little bit more, especially once we delete the bearing that's holding the rocket, or the pipe piece that's holding it. So what we're gonna do here, this thing's gonna work off the wireless glitch. Now if you don't know what the wireless glitch is, it's where you can hook up, say you have like a little car or something, and you have it hooked up to a cockpit that's not attached to the car directly. There's a way where you can have them attached, and if you delete a certain block, and if you have a certain set of bearings, it will stay attached, even though it's not physically actually attached. It's just a glitch in Scrap Mechanic, and I don't know if they're actually going to fix it. They haven't done anything with it yet. Maybe they actually think it's pretty neat. I actually really like it. I've used it a couple times before. We used it in our SWAT build, where we had a little SWAT robot that would come out of a trailer. So it's the same thing here. You've got a missile in there. It's got a timer on it, so once you launch this thing, it's not going to go stick to the skybox. I think it shuts off after 5 seconds. Scrubmaster did the initial design. He built a little rocket, and I just used the same timer mechanism he had, and I just added on. We made it a little bit bigger, and I added a thruster to it. That way it launches really far. So we're going to go ahead and go over the mechanism. We're not going to loosen the rocket yet. I'll go ahead and show you how this thing works. That way you're not going to be completely lost, because there is a little bit of a trick to get this thing to work right. So you're in here, you're in the cockpit, you're ready to go. 2 and 3 are going to be what's going to raise and lower the silo. Now, at first, I would have preferred to have used controllers to raise the silo, but it's pretty much impossible because it's huge, it's heavy. So you can see the little thrusters on the bottom side of it. So we can lift it up like that. So you just kind of spam the 2 key. Now, there's a sensor on the back of it that's going to catch, and you saw those little arms shoot out. That's actually going to stabilize this thing. So it's stabilized here. And to lock this into place, you want to hit the 4 key, and you see those 2 arms drop there. And it's going to slide slightly forward. Actually, it's slid up a little bit. And there's 2 little keys that kind of lock this thing into place. That way it doesn't move. So you can see it is slightly slanted forward. That's going to make the missile actually travel. The missile has been adjusted a bit with some weight on one side to try to make it actually kind of arc. So you've got that. You can see the little areas where it's actually kind of stopping it here. It hasn't quite touched them yet, but it will not allow this to go any further forward, because if you didn't have these, this thing would slowly just fall forward and fall down. And back here you can see the actual mechanism that came out with the sensor back here to kind of prop it up. So technically it is ready to be fired. Now, one more thing that this silo does in real life, it actually shoots its top off. Well, we don't have like a couple or anything, so I've got it set on a controller, so when you hit the, actually not the 4 key, the 5 key, it removes the top and it's ready to be launched. So I'm going to bring this thing back down, and we're going to detach the missile, and we're actually going to launch it here. So let's go ahead and put the cap back on. To bring it down, just hit the 4 key to unlock it, and you're going to use the 3 key to give it a little bit of momentum to come down. But you do not want this thing actually slamming into itself, because if it does, the blocks will go into each other, and it's really messy. So you just want to kind of ease it down, and it'll come into a resting spot. So in order to get the missile ready to fire, by the way, if you ever get stuck in the cockpit, there is a seat block right here, and you can just hop right out. So this is very important not to delete the wrong block. I've got a little opening here on the side of the silo here. So what you're going to do, you can see there's a blue pipe piece in there. That is the only block that you need to delete. So you're going to delete that, and the missile's dropped in the silo. Now, it doesn't drop all the way to the back of the silo. It's morely there's a wall that stops it. I can probably show you that briefly. But you can see 7 key is the missile launcher, and it is still attached even though the missile's loose inside the creation. So we're ready to go here. Let's go ahead and prop it back up. You're going to watch in the back, those arms are going to pop out and kind of stabilize the actual silo. You hit the 4 key, the silo is probably going to come forward just a bit here, and it's gonna hit the little lip or those little keys down in the bottom. We're gonna hit the 5 key here. It's gonna take that off, and we're ready to launch. The only other button we have a button that actually raises a little radio antenna. That's the 6 key. So it's ready to be launched. Alright, I'm trying to figure out how I want to do this. I want to try to get a view of it. It does launch rather quick, so I guess we're just going to give it a go here. So we're going to hit the 7 key, and there we go. Oh, there it goes. Up, and it's gone. Now, the missile doesn't perfectly launch every time. Sometimes it does go forward. With Scrap Mechanic and just the way it works, it's unpredictable because it is a loose object in there. And it should kill itself here in a second. Its timer's going to run out, and it'll just drop to the ground. It actually might come and hit us. Oh wow, it's way up there. So yeah, it is a little unpredictable. I had a little bit of a railing system in there, and I have it kind of tight, but even then, sometimes when the missile comes out, it'll come out a little bit sideways. So that's the only thing that's a little unpredictable about it. The missile is pretty much the same on each side, except for there is a bit more weight. I've got a little heavier block on one side to try to make it arc, but as you can see, it doesn't always do it perfectly. But overall, I'm really happy with this build. I'm happy to do a vehicle build like this again. If you guys have any suggestions for vehicle builds, comment below. We will return to morely our normal content as far as our prison builds and other bigger structure builds, but I wouldn't mind doing some more stuff like this because this was obviously it was really fun for me. I enjoyed this a lot. So if you have any suggestions for that, comment below. But I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of Scrap Mechanic here today. If you'd like to like and subscribe, everything helps my channel. And do remember, these things will be on the workshop. I have my Steam group linked in the description. And we will see you guys next time. Thank you.